We live as if we have an infinite supply of time, yet we treat our most precious resource like common dirt. Seneca, the great Stoic, once observed that people are frugal with their property and money, but as soon as it comes to wasting time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. We say yes to the extra project, the draining social event, and the trivial favor, all while our own dreams sit in the waiting room gathering dust. This is the paradox of the modern yes. We think we are building bridges, but we are actually burning our own house down to keep others warm. Today, we stop the fire. We are going to learn the science of the no and how to build boundaries that serve as a sanctuary, not a prison. The trap of the unguarded house. Imagine a house with no doors and no locks. Anyone can walk in at any time. They track mud on your carpets, they eat the food from your table, and they leave their trash in your hallways. This is exactly what happens to your mental state when you lack boundaries. You feel exhausted, resentful, and hollowed out. We often mistake this open-door policy for kindness or virtue. We tell ourselves we are being helpful or reliable. But a yes that is born out of the fear of disappointment is not an act of love. It is an act of cowardice. It is a betrayal of your own character. Stoicism teaches us that we are only responsible for our own internal state. When you prioritize everyone else's comfort over your own purpose, you aren't being a saint, you are being a ghost in your own life. To reclaim your power, you must first acknowledge that your energy is finite. You must recognize that every time you say yes to something unimportant, you are saying a silent, painful no to your own growth.
The law of the harvest. There is an immutable law of nature. You reap what you sow. If you sow seeds of constant availability, you will reap a harvest of interruption and burnout. If you teach the world that your time has no value, the world will treat it as worthless. Think of Aesop's fable of the ant and the grasshopper. The ant had clear boundaries. He knew that the summer was for labor and the winter was for survival. He did not let the grasshopper's lack of planning become his own emergency. Many of us are playing the role of the ant, but letting every grasshopper in the forest eat our winter stores. You cannot feed the village if your own barn is empty. Setting a boundary is not an act of aggression. It is an act of stewardship. You are the caretaker of your own potential. If you do not fence off your garden, the weeds of other people's priorities will eventually choke out your flowers. If this perspective is helping you see your own value more clearly, consider joining our community by subscribing. Let's walk this path of clarity together.
The logic of the fence. A fence is not a weapon, it is a definition. It defines where your responsibility ends and where someone else's begins. In logic, a system without boundaries is indistinguishable from chaos. The science of saying no is rooted in the preservation of focus. Your brain is a high-performance machine, and every small favor you agree to is a cognitive tax that drains your battery. To apply this, you must adopt the binary filter. Before you respond to any request, ask yourself one question. Does this align with my primary mission? If the answer is not a definitive yes, then the answer must be a firm no. We must move away from the habit of giving long, rambling excuses. An excuse is just a weakness disguised as a reason. A mature person understands that no is a complete sentence. It requires no apology because protecting your purpose is the highest form of integrity.
The reclamation of peace. True peace is not the absence of people or the avoidance of work. It is the presence of self-respect. When you begin to say no, you will feel a pang of guilt. This is not because you are doing something wrong. It is because you are breaking an old habit of self-neglect. Sit with that discomfort. It is the feeling of your backbone becoming stronger. You are the architect of your own life, and no architect builds a masterpiece without solid walls. Carry your no like a shield, protecting the sacred space where your best self lives. It is the tool that carves out the room you need to breathe, to think, and to become who you were meant to be. Be firm in your resolve, but calm in your delivery. You don't need to shout to be heard, you just need to be consistent. Go forward today and guard your time as if your life depends on it, because it does. Stay centered and remember to subscribe to continue this journey toward a more intentional life.